Thanks, Sadie. So this is going to be a pretty informal session. We're just going to do, an overview of the dashboard, talk a bit about the NAICS system, and just really demonstrate the power of the dashboard, like what sort of analysis you can do, observations you can make about an area, and yeah, just any questions anyone has during the presentation, please feel free to jump in at any time. I want it to be as collaborative as possible. Um, and yeah, we'll just get into it. Okay. So we start off at the welcome page. This page is going to tell us a bit about the NAICS classification system, the geography levels that we're using, and the location sizes that we're using. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the NAICS system, it's the North American Industry Classification System, which categorizes businesses by their main economic activity. And it's a hierarchical system. So what this means is that there are these broad sectors of two-digit codes that break down into three-digit code subsectors, followed by four-digit industry groups. And these are actually broken down even further into five-digit and six-digit groups. So instead of industry groups, you have industry for the five-digit. And just in this dashboard, we only go down to four-digit codes. But the data source itself, which I have over here, the IVT file, if you scroll down, you can see this actually goes to the six-digit code. So um, if you wanted an extremely, extremely detailed view of the businesses, then you would have to go to the IVT file to get these five-digit and six-digit codes. Um, Likewise, if we go to the NAICS website, so this is just on Statistics Canada's website, but we can see the sector breakdown that they have here. And it's really great because if you don't know the definitions, you can click display definitions. And then like if you don't know what agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting would entail, you get a nice description of it here. Likewise with mining, utilities, construction, etc. And what's great about this is like the definitions go all the way down. So part of agriculture is crop production. If we go to crop production, we can then get a definition for crop production. Um, and then we can go down into the industry group. So this is going to be the level that our the lowest level that our dashboard goes into. So that's something like that might be oil seed and grain farming. And then again, we can get the definition of what oil seed and grain farming is. And then if you're working with that IVT file, you can go even deeper and separate out the oil season grain. So different types of grains like soybean, dry pea, wheat, corn, etc. So it's really amazing the level of detail that you can get into with these.
August, we have a question, Matt, asking what's the lowest level of geography that the IVT files goes down to?
I believe here we can double check right now, but I believe it goes down to census tracts. In our dashboard, we're only using census divisions and census subdivisions. But yeah,
Perfect.
if we
Yeah.
go to the website here, we can see that we do go down to census metropolitan area, census agglomerations, and census tracts. So the lowest level possible would be the census tract, which is quite
Thank you.
quite detailed. But for the dashboard itself, we're only looking at um, the provinces and territories, the census divisions, and the census subdivisions. So yeah, if you want to get that more minute view, you definitely have to go to the IVT file. Likewise with these location sizes that we're talking about. So we have micro, which is 0 to 9 employees. So that includes locations without employees. Small, 10 to 99. Medium, 100 to 499. And then large, which is 500 or more employees. These are groupings that we created. But if you go to the IVT file, you can see that they have more minute uh, grading system. So you can get like 1 to 4 employees, 5 to 9 employees, 10 to 19 employees. So you can get like a lot more detail if you're in the IBT file. It still cuts off at 500 plus for large. Um, but yeah, you can get these more detailed brackets. Likewise, you can get the without employees bracket. And You can always, whenever you're in an IVT file, if you see this little eye here, you can click it to get some more information. So we can see these are the different breakdowns we can get for employee size. And then we get like a little definition of without employees, include the self-employed. So yeah, it's always good to check out the IVT file. Back on the welcome page. So that was the NAICS classification system. Again, the geography levels we're working with in the dashboard, just provinces and territories, census divisions, census subdivisions. And then we have those four different location sizes, the micro, small, medium, and large. And then our next tab we have here is how to use the dashboard. So you guys are probably familiar with the dashboards that we make, but I always recommend going from uh, top to bottom, left to right with the filters. Usually you don't end up with too many errors with the filters if you just do, um, like you're reading a book, top to left, or yeah, top left to bottom right. Yeah. Um, you can display details, so extra details of any of the visuals by hovering over, and you'll get a little tooltip like we see in this image here. For some of the charts, you can refine the comparison by using this adjustable range. And the adjustable range allows you to focus your comparison or ranking on areas with a specific scale of activity. So if you're only interested in like places with 10,000 or more locations, so only like big cities, then you can use the filter, which we'll see in a later slide to do that. Likewise, you can always sort the tables that you see. So sort from lowest to highest, highest to lowest. And you can export the data from the dashboard into something like Excel. I'll give a little demo on that as well. So if we hop into the first page of the dashboard, so I'm going to set it to Ontario just because I live in Ontario. So that's, interesting to me. Right off the bat, we can see that the top industry is real estate and rental and leasing. If anybody's looked at this before, they know that real estate is always pretty much dominating in the top here. But something that I find very interesting is that, we're looking at all sizes right now. But if you were to look at just large sizes, then it's a different story. So we have healthcare and social assistance coming up as the number one industry. Um, but if you look at micro, that's where you're getting all these real estate and rental and leasing. So all these tiny businesses with 0 to 9 employees that are doing the real estate and rental. And there's so many micros compared to large. Like you can see there's 455,000 micro real estate, but then only 168 large healthcare and social assistance places. Um, so just as a little demo, we'll look at where I'm located, which is Guelph. So that's in the Wellington region or county. And then we'll do the city of Guelph. And let's look at all for now. So we can see again, just like the Ontario average, top is real estate and rental and leasing. But if we look at large, there's only, what is this, 24 large locations within Guelph, and 10 of those are manufacturing. So what we can do now is if we're, the top industry, large size industry is manufacturing in Guelph, but like if you want to know more details, because manufacturing is just the sector, we can then look at by subsector, and we'll have to switch this sector drop down that appeared to our manufacturing, and then we can see um, how those 10 large manufacturing industries are broken down by their subsector. And we can see that we have transportation equipment manufacturing as number one, followed by machinery manufacturing and food manufacturing. So it's interesting that we have, food manufacturing here along with machinery manufacturing. Uh, when you just hear manufacturing, I at least don't think of food manufacturing. So that's interesting. And then we can even go to the industry group. So let's take transportation equipment manufacturing, for example. And now we'll click industry group up here to view the graph by the industry group. And again, we're going to have to choose our sector, which is manufacturing, and our subsector, which believe we said would be transportation equipment manufacturing. And we can see that the four transportation equipment manufacturing places are motor vehicle parts manufacturing. So this is telling us that the top large size industries within Guelph are motor vehicle manufacturing. And then something you can do is, I did not want to do that. Oh, there we go. Okay. If you ever mess anything up, you can always undo. Up in the top right, undo, redo. So I just undid whatever I clicked there. But we can look up 3363 on the NAICS website. Okay. I say 3363. Yeah, so motor vehicle parts manufacturing. This industry group comprises establishments primarily engaged in manufacturing motor vehicle parts, including engines. Establishments that rebuild motor vehicle parts are included in this industry group in the same industry as the manufacture of new parts. And then if we wanted to know these more specific line items, like motor vehicle brake system manufacturing is maybe the business within Guelph, we'd have to go um, to our IVT file. And we can do this quickly here. So 33634 is what we're looking for to see if we have any of these within our IVT file. We'll change our label here to just be the NAICS code. And then we'll search by code. And then we can see, move this over. There's a total of one with employees for we want to look at our 5-digit here, 33634, 33634. So motor vehicle brake system manufacturing. We can see that there is in fact one with employees, and it's between the size range of 20 to 49. So it's cool how you can go and you can see like the top industry, and then you can work through it, go through the IVT file to find like specifically that one of the top industries is this large motor vehicle brake system manufacturing. Although I am surprised it says 20 to 49 because I thought this would be uh oh yeah, no, sorry. But yeah, you guys get the idea how you can get more minute details from within the IVT file. Because I'm just a bit confused because this should be a large industry and it was saying that it was 10 to 25, but maybe that's because these four don't include that one. Because if we look at medium, we can see that we have 17 medium, we have 3 micro, 14 small. So it makes sense that we would have that one within our IVT file with 20 to 49 employees because there are more manufacturing plants than just large. We were just looking at the large in here. So likewise, we could look at our micro businesses again, and we'll want to go back to sector to start. So the majority of micro businesses, micro industries are happening in real estate and rental and leasing. So if we want to explore that, then we can go to the subsector of real estate and rental and leasing. And we can see that the vast majority is real estate as our industry group. So then we can click to view by industry group and again set these up so that we have real estate and real estate. And then we can see that within the real estate industry group, or within the real estate subsector, the industry groups are lessors of real estate, offices of real estate agents and brokers, and then activities related to real estate. So this lessors of real estate, let's look that up quickly. So it says this industry group comprises establishments primarily engaged in renting and leasing real estate properties. So that's the number one micro businesses is leasing of renting and leasing real estate properties, which is pretty much the same across all of Ontario. Like if we click all of Wellington, we can see that all of Wellington follows the same trend. Um, Likewise, if we click all of the regions within Ontario, they similarly follow the same trend. So this is a trend for Ontario, for the region of Wellington, and for uh, the municipality of Guelph. So you can see it's like an overall trend because a lot of places mix of businesses will be or mix of industry will be pretty similar. Because you can imagine like these industries support each other and like one industry will be dependent on another industry. So you end up with similar ratios of industries um, across the regions, municipalities, and provinces. Um, so yeah, this chart's really good for getting your top and your bottom industries, and then digging deep into those industries. We go to our next chart. We have business count over time. So this is a stacked area chart. I'm not the biggest fan of stacked area charts. I find them a bit hard to read. But I'll show you a little trick that we can get to read this better in just a second. So from this, we can see the places with the largest amount of area, or rather the industries that take up the largest amount of area on this chart are the biggest. And then how they're relative to themselves, like their own area is changing across 2019, 2022, and 2025 is how much these industries are growing. Um, so we can see overall, because we end up higher over here, overall businesses grew between 2019 and 2025. But if we look specifically at like agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting in 2019 to 2022, uh, we went up around 2000, or no, sorry, we went down around 2000. And then from 2022 to 2025, we went up around 4,000. But it's hard to see that, right? Like it's hard to see that we went down 2,000, then up 4,000, because it looks like we have a very sharp rise here. But that rise has to do with the cumulative increase of area of all of these different parts, whereas we would only be interested in the area increase of the single part. And you can see like uh, the area as in the height of this bar stays relatively the same. So like not much change is happening here. Whereas if we see retail trade here as a good example, um, down in the middle here, it's quite skinny, this dark mustard color. So we have 8,707 locations. But then the mustard color gets quite a bit wider as we go into 2025. And you can see that we have 30,262 locations. So it's really like that width of the line that's telling you whether or not things are shrinking or growing. And like I said, I find this a bit hard to read. So something that I would do with a chart like this is where I would use the so if you click into the visual, you'll get the worksheet option at the top here. And I go worksheet, export cross tab to Excel. And that's going to open an Excel window. And then here we have our data tabulated. So instead of having the visual, we have just the data tabulated. And we could do something like 2019 to 2022, 2022 to 2025, and 2019 to 2025. And then you can sort of do like a little bit of analysis here, just on the fly once you've cross-tabbed from Tableau to Excel. So here I'm just getting the differences between the years. And then I'm going to go ahead and add just a filter here. Because now what I can do is I can organize it by smallest to largest, and we can see in construction between 2019 and 2022, there was a decrease of 5,597 locations. And if we go back to our visual and look at construction, it's hard to tell from just looking at this visual that we went down, you know, close to 5,000 here, and we went down over 5,000 there, and that it was the biggest decrease, right? It's hard to see that decrease within this visual, I find. Uh, but it's very easy when you cross tab and do a little bit of analysis in Excel instead. And we can do something like the average. So on average, these industries decreased by 905 locations from 2019 to 2022, and then they increased 3,921 locations from 2022 to 2025 on average. And then the cumulative average from 2019 to 2025 was 3,015. So this is interesting because part of the reason why we made this dashboard was to explore the changes due to COVID. And you know, you can't say exactly from this, but you know, the line of reasoning then would go to, well, maybe construction was heavily impacted by COVID, and maybe that's why they have such low numbers from 2019 to 2022. Like maybe lots of construction industry places had to close down due to COVID. That's not a conclusion you can 100% draw from the data. It's just like possible like line of questioning that you could then explore more, right? Um, yeah. If we look at like retail trade is one that I would expect to go down during COVID, and it went down 89 locations, which doesn't seem like a lot. But then if you look at the growth from 2022 to 2025, there were 21,000 new locations, right? So even though we didn't lose very many locations from 2019 to 2022, um, we also didn't gain all these ones that we likely would have if COVID didn't happen, right? Um, so yeah, that's just a way to use the cross tabbing. If you want the visual as well, you can go to copy image. Um, and then you can choose to have like the color legend if you want, a caption if you want. I'm gonna go no color legend, no caption, and click copy. And then I'm just gonna go into here and do Control V to paste. And now you can see like within the Excel sheet, we also have the chart. Um, so if you're creating, you know, your own document and you want to have the visual alongside this analysis, it's really easy to do. I'll show you one more time. Export image, and this time we'll do the color legend as well. And you can choose the formatting. So if we want the color legend to be to the right of the graph, we would choose this left option here. Let's do the color legend below the graph, so this far right option. This time we're going to save it. So we'll just save it. I don't want to save it. I want to copy it. Copy image. Yeah, so you can choose to export to save the image, or you can choose to copy just to copy it. I'm just going to copy it. And then paste it. And now we can see below we have our legend as well. So this is looking at Alberta. But if we go to Ontario, and then if we go to Wellington again, and then if we go to Guelph again, we can see like, as we saw in the beginning, real estate is dominating Guelph because there's all those micro businesses. So maybe something that would be more interesting to look at the large only. So for the large, you can see that there used to be large real estate and rental and leasing, which has pretty much disappeared. Like you can see the line goes down to nothing here. So I think That's probably a zero. I can't even hover over it, so it's probably a zero. Um, and we can see just, like healthcare and social assistance is one location went up from 2019 to 2022, and then 2022 to 2025 stay the same. Um, and yeah, we can see the majority is manufacturing for these large businesses. We look at medium businesses. Again, manufacturing makes up the majority of the distribution. Um, see small. Small is a lot more diverse. Like these industries have very similar sizes for small businesses, which is interesting. We don't see like a clear winner here. I mean, there's retail trade, which seems to be the biggest to me. But it's very close to manufacturing locations and other locations. So it's interesting that the small size businesses are more diversified. And if we go back to just the welcome page, just as a reminder, small is 10 to 99. So I guess that shows that maybe this small category that was created needs to be uh, truncated down even more. But that's something that you could do in the IVT file. Um, yeah. So this just shows the distribution of businesses by sector again. Um, it's cool. It's a bit hard to read the stacked bar chart. Once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. But again, there's always that option to take everything out of here and into Excel just to do your own quick analysis. Um, Likewise, with the previous chart, we can go down into subsector and industry group. So let's do that again, but let's go all of Ontario. And then let's see, let's do let's do the small businesses that we saw, or the small locations. I guess they're business locations, so I can call them businesses or locations. But we'll look at the small ones. Uh, and then we can choose a sector that we want to be interested in. So let's look at retail trade because we can see that retail trade went up quite a bit between 2022 and 2025. And this is across all of Ontario. Um, yeah, quite. There was a drop between 2019 and 2022, and then a large increase from 2022 to 2025. Um, so again, that's probably, I would think, due to COVID, due to like, the slowdown of retail trade during COVID and then the huge boom of retail trade right after. Um, so we'll click on subsector. We'll choose our subsector of retail trade. And then we get a whole bunch of stuff here. And this is again a time where I would take this into Excel because you can see all of these different names of these different industries, but we only have three um, clear areas on our area chart, which are motor vehicle and parts dealers, building material and garden equipment suppliers, and then food and beverage retailers. But these other ones, we can't even see them. The line is so small. So in that case, I would take this, uh, export, cross tab to Excel. And then, yeah, we can see the reason why we couldn't see those other lines is because they don't actually have any data for 2019 and 2022. So they're just showing point data at 2025. So they just don't have a line, which is why they're not showing up. Um, so they're all just located at the ends here. And then if we want, we can go into the industry group. So let's take a look at the subsector of motor vehicle and parts dealers. So we'll go to industry group, retail trade, motor vehicle parts dealers. So that now we can see automobile dealers make up the majority. followed by automotive parts, accessories, and tire retailers, and then lastly, other motor vehicle dealers. Um, and then this is kind of interesting. So automobile dealers, I wonder like, what's that broken out into further? So for that, we could go to the NAICS website, go to automobile dealers. Oh, and then we can see there's new car dealers and used car dealers. So if I wanted to, uh, I could get that extra detail from the IVT file. So instead of just looking at automobile dealers as my industry group, I could then look at the specific industries of new car dealers versus used car dealers. So that's cool. A little bit of extra information you can get from the IVT file. We would have loved to include like the industries uh within the dashboard. It's just things get exponentially larger as you add more and more filters, and to go down to single other digit would then make this explode in size even more. So we are kind of constrained in the dashboard by just the size of the data. Yeah, I think that's enough fun with this chart. So this is size distribution over time. So this is looking at, we have this chart here, which has these 100% bars. So each of these bars equals 100%, and then we're seeing the distribution of the sizes within each of those bars. So in our color legend here, we have micro as blue, small as orange, medium as red, and then large as this cyan, green, blue color. And we can see for this is Alberta, but we'll go to Ontario. For Ontario, the vast majority of businesses, so 93.2% in 2025 were these micro businesses, so 0 to 9 employees. Um, and it makes sense, right? Because you're obviously going to have fewer large businesses and more small businesses, just based off of employee size. Um, it's much easier to have a business of 0 than it is to have a business of 1,000. So this makes a lot of sense. I didn't realize it would be such a stark difference with 93% being micro businesses, but it's just the way that it works out. We can see across Ontario for 2019, 2022, 2025, nothing really happens. So the size distribution of the businesses from 2019 to 2025 stays basically the exact same. Um, and large and medium are here. They're just very small bars, so you have to get right up in them to be able to um, read the large and medium data points. So this is the hovering over to get more details, right? Um, let's then go quickly to Guelph again, just to see what sort of story is happening in Guelph. And it looks pretty much identical to the story of Ontario, where we're having around 90% being these micro businesses, followed by small, followed by medium, and then finally large. I played around with this a lot, and I didn't find this graphic to be too helpful, besides just showing that these ratios stay pretty much the same throughout the years. Um, but it is cool to see like that, large businesses only make up 0.2% of all the businesses, and small businesses make up 7.7%. Um, so it's definitely very useful information for single year. It just doesn't change very much over the years, and over the locations either, because this is sort of just like we were saying, it's easier to have a small business than it is to have a large business, and this is just a chart basically displaying the fact that it's easier to have a small business than a large business. Um, yeah, so you end up with just having identical bar charts for most places. So this is an example where everything disappeared. So I just clicked from Ontario to British Columbia because I wanted to check out if British Columbia is showing the same sort of trend. And we see everything disappears. That's because Guelph does not exist within British Columbia, but it's still selected. Likewise, Wellington does not exist in British Columbia and it's still selected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this little filter with the X, and filter with the X, and then that switches these back to selecting all items. And then British Columbia obviously includes all items, or has items to include within it rather. So we get the chart back. And now we can freely switch between the provinces because we don't have a region or municipality selected. If we just quickly go through these, we can see it's pretty much just the same story for every province. Changes a little bit. Changes a little bit in the territories. So Northwest Territories, we can see instead of having like 92% micro businesses, we only have 80% micro businesses. But we're still showing the same trend of micro, small, medium, large. Let's see, Nunavut. Yeah, Nunavut as well. Less micro businesses. Yukon, quite a few micro businesses, 89%. But Nunavut, you can see, goes down to 74.2%. So it's interesting that they have relatively less small businesses, the relatively less micro businesses rather, compared to other provinces. They also have far fewer locations just because the population of Nunavut is much, much less. Um, and you can kind of then, work out that the businesses that exist within Nunavut require more employees on average than the businesses of, say, in Ontario. Um, yeah, because the employee sizes are larger. Then let's see. Oh, we can also break this down by sector, subsector, and industry group. So let's see, for micro businesses, or rather, let's see what they're doing with real estate and Nunavut. So we have 0 large real estate. And it looks like we just have small and micro for real estate and Nunavut. All right, let's go to the next chart, communities compared. So in this chart, you're going to be able to compare communities to see which communities have the highest percentages of the sectors, subsectors, and industry groups. So right now we have it set to retail trade, and you can do this to filter or to sort the chart. You can click this little sort icon, sort of like a staircase. And we can see White Sand has 100% of their businesses being retail trade. But it's not super interesting because they only have one location, one business in total in White Sand. It just so happens that their one business is a retail trade. So that's where this total locations and municipality slider can come into handy. So I'm going to set this total location to be 10,000. And now you can see that we pretty much only in our chart have larger cities. So Windsor, Greater Sudbury, St. Catharines, Kingston, lots of Ontario towns and cities because population of Ontario is very high. So that then gets rid of the problem you're having with the 100% being the one business. So now we can see that the majority of retail trade is in Windsor with 7.6% of their businesses being retail trade. And that's out of, significant numbers. So nearly 20,000 business locations in total, and then 1,400 being retail trade locations. Likewise, we can see the bottom and we can see Brampton has the least retail trade. So this is they have the least percentage, but if we want to talk absolute numbers, then the absolute numbers are going to be Toronto because they have the highest population. So it makes sense that they have the most retail trade businesses in general. but as a percentage of all businesses within the area, they're 4.7%, which is uh, more towards the bottom of the large areas uh, um, distributions. You can also switch years. I haven't been doing that, or I didn't do that on this chart here, but you can do that on the very first chart. You can click through them quickly to see how things are changing over the years if you want to just do like a visual sort of pat down. But there's another chart that's better for showing changes over the years, which we will get to last. So yeah, um, this is cool. This is really cool. So we can go, let's look at just Wellington. And it's only showing Guelph. Oh, because I only have 10,000. So, okay. So now we're looking at all of the municipalities within Wellington. And we can see that the highest percentage is 6%, with Center Wellington having the most retail trade. And then you can use these charts together. So like something you might want to do is go to the very first chart again, and then go back to all of Wellington. And then maybe we want to see medium businesses. And we have manufacturing as our top medium business in 2019. Let's do 2025. Manufacturing again as our top medium size business in 2025. So now I can take this manufacturing and explore it further with these city comparisons. So let's go here. Let's do manufacturing. And we can see that of the top industry of manufacturing, Mapleton has the most of 5.4%. And something I found interesting is Mapleton has the most manufacturing, but if we look at their retail trade, they have the lowest retail trade. So they're very much a manufacturing place and less of a retail trade place as far as places within Wellington region go, which is cool insight you can get from this. Our last chart we have here is shifts over time. So I'm again going to set this up for Wellington. And this is really good. This is sort of like this is creating the same sort of chart that I had created in Excel. So like how I created these differences here. This chart in the back just does this for you. And it does it for multiple locations. So this, I did it for one location with multiple industries here. But then this other chart is one industry for multiple locations. So you can sort of see how different locations over the years have been doing as far as their industry, like how it's been changing. So we're on retail trade again. We could see from 2019 to 2022, the biggest grower was Mapleton. So even though they have the least retail trade, they're growing. They grew the most from 2019 to 2022. And then we can see other places shrunk in retail trade, which is interesting when you compare it to 2022 to 2025, because when we look at these numbers, we can see nobody shrunk, nobody came even close to shrinking. The lowest was actually, we sort this again, 116% in Mapleton again. So what this means is they went from 24 locations to 52 locations, so they increased 116%. They over doubled the number of retail trade locations. And again, this is like the effect of COVID. And in my eyes, you'd have to do more research to say these things definitively. But we all know retail trade took a hit during COVID and then recovered afterwards. And we can see like by comparing, an increase of 200% versus a decrease of 10%. Um, in a normal year, we would expect these to all be positive, probably. Like retail trade isn't an industry that's really ever shrinking because the population's always growing. So people are always trying to engage in more retail trade. So it's not something that really should ever be shrinking unless your population's shrinking alongside it. But we don't really have shrinking population problems right now in most of Ontario or most of Canada. Um, we have growing populations, or at least flat populations, I believe. Um, so yeah, if we can also look at all of Ontario, then we can see filter out 0 locations. So let's go 1 location, see what happens. Now it's not interesting. Let's do 1,000 locations. It's too many locations. Okay, 100 locations. Total locations in municipality. I'm gonna put this up to 10,000 actually. Okay, does not like 10,000. I just don't understand why there's these blanks. I'll have to look into this after. Um, but
I think it's because there's data for 2025, but no data uh,
okay,
for the previous years.
yeah. Okay, but here we can see the top grower from 2019 to 2022 was North Algona Wilberforce, where they had a 500% increase, but that only represents opening up 5 new locations. So they went from 1 location in 2019 to 6 locations in 2022. But if we scroll down through here, actually, if we just look at the bottom here, we can see that the median change from 2019 to 2022 was minus 4.2%. And then the median change for 2022 to 2025 was 180%. So from 2019 to 2022, we lost some businesses. And then in 2022 to 2025, we gained a whole bunch of businesses. Um, yeah. And this distribution is also,
And you can show on there like where a particular community sits in that distribution, right?
um,
Like if you click
yes.
on,
Yeah.
if
So
you
you
get
can click
Hawkesbury,
on, if we click on Hawkesbury, then it'll highlight Hawkesbury's, I want to say orb, so Hawkesbury's circle on the chart. So we have all these open. We can sort them by A to Z. And then I can find City of Guelph, click on the City of Guelph. We can see that they had 0% change in retail locations from 2019 to 2022. But then a 276% increase from 2022 to 2025. Then if I go back and undo, so I'm not just selecting Guelph. And then, yeah, you can click any of them to see where the respective circle pops up on the distribution chart here at the bottom. Yeah. Um, at the end, we have a data sources and notes page. So this goes into the Canadian Business Counts a bit, talks about, that it's a business register of all Canadian businesses which meet at least one of the 3 following criteria. So you need to have an employee workforce for which they submit payroll admittance to CRA, or have a minimum of 30,000 in annual revenue, or are incorporated under a federal or provincial act and have filed a federal corporate income tax form within the past 3 years. Businesses without employees, this is the same note that was within the IVT file. So this is saying establishments without employees include the self-employed, i.e. those who do not maintain an employee payroll, but may have a workforce which consists of contracted workers, family members, or business owners. These also include employers who do not have employees in the last 12 months. Then something else that we have to be aware of in this dashboard is because we're dealing with a large time scale of 2019 to 2025. There were changes to the NAICS system between 2019 and 2025. Likewise, there were changes in the standard geographical classifications. So you just want to make sure that when you're doing your analysis that you're taking into account any changes in the NAICS classification and then any changes that may have happened to your geography. And then down here we have the data sources. So there's 3 data sources, June 2019 and June 2022 and June 2025. If we click June 2022, get taken to the CDP website. And we can see the data is available for CMA, CACT. So census tract is the lowest level of geography available. We have these employee size breakdowns. There's also without employee. See our good stuff here. And recently we just got what was it? Canadian business counts. We just got the December 2025 business counts in February. So be sure to check those out as well. We get the business counts every December and every June. Yeah, I don't know if there's any questions, if anybody wants to do any sample analysis of like a specific area of interest, or if any of the charts are unclear and we want to go over any of the charts again. I don't know if I was talking too fast, too slow.
Thank you, August. I see that the questions came to the chat box and Mike responded right after, but there is a question from Ken Moore that they are asking the data of the business counts is sourced from StatsCan Canada, correct?
Yeah. StatsCan, right, Mike?
Yeah, I just responded. It's from their business register.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So feel free to mute your devices if you have any questions. If it sounds kind of easier to you, and while August on the kind of demo page. So feel free to ask your question in the chat box or unmute your devices. Thank you for the presentation, August. That was great and very comprehensive going through the dashboard. And at the beginning, we had questions about the location of this dashboard. So it's now in the data catalog, and we are going to post it on the dashboard page as well soon after this webinar.
Yeah, so if you go to the Find Data page and you do data analysis and visualization tools as your product group, then it's going to be the 3rd result that you get. So Canadian Business Counts dashboard.
Perfect. A question asking about describing the differences between establishment vs location and which one would be better for us to use.
This might be a better question for Mike.
Sorry, let me
just the difference between establishment and location.
Yeah, so like a location is I mean it's described well on there's a link on the catalog entry, but location is a physical location. Establishment can comprise several locations, like if it if it's looking after the accounting for several locations, then those would be grouped into an establishment. So it depends on what you are really unit you want for your analysis. If you want to understand, actual like physical businesses in a particular location because that, location of that type of industry relates to community building, then you might want location. But uh, if you just want to know sort of a higher level, what are the industries that are in this community, um, but you could have some head offices that are dealing with, several locations in a community, then that might be the unit that you're going for. But we order data for both establishments and locations. Often when I've been looking at this, locations ends up being the unit that is most relevant to our analysis because we're talking about the physical location.
Yeah, locations is what was used to build the dashboard as well.
Perfect. Awesome. In the meantime, while if you may have some questions you want to prepare it, I want to share our webinar page that kind of you will see our upcoming webinars in the coming months. So the kind of April one, we have April 7th, Community Data Program Orientation. If you're new to the program or you need a refresher, would be a great opportunity. We will have it once a year. We go through a kind of a comprehensive orientation about the program and how to kind of find everything on our website, more details about what we have and what products you can find on our website and how you can use it. It's on April 7th. We have two confirmed webinars, but when we have more details like descriptions and the registration page will be open, but you can save the date, please. So June 16th, the Community Data Analysis webinar, and July 7th, the Food Security webinar will be presented by the Statistics Canada. And also if you look at the page, if you scroll down, you will see the past webinars that the recording and presentation slides are available there. So you can also watch that as well. Perfect. So here I'll kind of so for this this webinar, the recording we probably posted tomorrow or at the latest Thursday will be posted on the webinar page, so you can access the recording. There is no slide here, just a presentation as August will have the live demonstration of the dashboards. And dashboards, you can find it on the data catalog as well. I see that Mike is responding to the questions. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. So it's 2:35 p.m. Eastern time. We have it until 3 p.m. If you have any questions, please unmute your devices and ask it that August can kind of show the kind of dashboards, any questions or details you want to know more about the dashboards, or you can post it in the chat box. We will stay here longer if anyone has any questions. If not, we will appreciate you that joining us today, and we hope to see you in the next webinar. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your day.